projection, because it's time to wake people up. Right here, right now.
Hey everyone, and welcome to the Horry Sheet Show's Flat Earth Digest Episode 10. I've got over 2 weeks worth of Flat Earth goodness to bring to the table, and we're going to go through it briskly. Grab a snack, prop your feet up, put your hand down the pants of your favorite woman, and hold on tight. It's flappening. First up, here's something to say Horry Sheet about. If there are any trolls watching this, listen up. The Fepes have sharpened their beaks and they're on full alert as YouTuber Infinite Plane Society has been getting heavily harassed. So much so that IPS originally wanted to file a police report for slander, defamation of character, and to get YouTuber MGTV's personal information. MGTV has been making several misleading YouTube videos, and IPS plans to go to civil court and potentially sue for up to $10,000. But get this, because email phishing was involved, the FBI may take the case, and it will be essentially treated as a criminal act if they find evidence of phishing. IPS has had his name demonized, his address made public. They attempted to tie him in with like Pizzagate. He's getting death threats in his email now and everything. He's not going to play either. IPS is about to make an example of somebody. And if he finds that other people have acted on MGTV's behalf, sending death threats to IPS from one of those videos, they may all go down for cyber stalking or cyberbullying and harassment. Things are about to get real on the Infinite Plane. And I don't normally highlight the drama, but I'm all about making an example of these people that have nothing else better to do but to troll people all day. It's gone too far. Time to get wrenched in real life. Next up, this video here is the third installment of the Potter's Clay Eclipse video series for the August 21st eclipse that's coming up. It's showing how the heliocentric model of this eclipse cannot accurately model a moon's shadow going from west to east. But if we perform this on a flat Earth with the moon and sun nearly touching, you can get a west to east shadow across the face of the Earth easily. Great work here by the Potter's Clay, totally worth looking into. It's probably one of the hottest debates right now, and rightfully so. There are still many people, including myself, who think the sun and moon are appearing relative to us in the night sky. It's hard to explain, but make sure you're following some of Antonio Subirats' work as he talks about how it moves through what seems to be a membrane of sorts. The sun has been shown to not appear in the right spot in the sky for other people across the plane, and this gives us the impression that it's not really positioned where it looks like it is in the sky above us. So, this is making it really hard for us to model the moon and sun and earth relationship. Oh, anyway, here I'll play a bit of the video, but go watch the original to understand all the math that's involved in this one. Up next, why are we comparing our flat Earth model to the ball so hard at this point if it's completely wrong? For example, when we're given the heliocentric model and the flat Earth model, why are we still asking, well, how does this phenomena on the heliocentric model work on the flat Earth model? Why are we looking to the heliocentric model as an authority figure here after having exposed so much of it as false and misleading? Here is a clip from the latest Globebusters episode that will give you a practical example of this kind of ideology, and the video is titled, Flat Earth, Why Do We Play by Their Rules?
Yeah, there's just so many mental things you can do. I mean, even a laser light, and let's say it's powerful enough to hit the moon like the one they say they have, if you took that laser and you quickly moved it from one end of the moon to the other, you just broke the speed of light. The light that was on the moon would go faster to the other side of the moon than the speed of light. So there's ways that you can think out of their boxes that they've set. And I totally agree with what you guys are saying as far as why do we play by their rules? Because they set the rules and then they employ them at different times, right? when they want to use the idea of triangulation, and they want to, then they do, and when parallax doesn't work for them, then they throw it away. They just get to employ whatever they want when they want it, and then they explain it away as fact. And when you can easily disprove the speed of light just like that, or you can picture moons all the way around your head stretching in a circle, if you took a laser light and just wrapped it around your head, if that laser light hit every moon, it just went way faster than the speed of light.
Yep, absolutely.
I wanted to mention that about 45 minutes into that show, there's a lengthy segment that shows how the moon may not be hundreds of thousands of miles away, but instead much, much closer. There's a lot of math involved and angles and trigonometry and all that, but what it looked like to me was that once they put in the measurements for the supposed curvature of Earth into their equation for figuring out how far the moon is from Earth, it changes the outcome tremendously. But if you leave all that out and assume the Earth is flat, we get a much closer moon. You decide. Definitely watch the first hour of the show. Antonio Subirats also joins into this Globebuster show as well to talk a bit about things too. And even John the Morgul makes a great statement, which I want to try to highlight here, where he thinks that we are just starting to realize that we need to factor in the atmosphere into the angles. And things like refraction may be causing some parallax observations. His words are much better than mine when it comes to all this, trust me. Have another quick listen to this from the same episode.
Like you just said, the equation that says one distance for one thing, the same equation for the distance for the other thing, you know, and it's the same degrees arc anyway. Yep. So it is definitely, yeah, both same distance.
Yes, absolutely. So that's, you know, and that of course is using their own formulas, their own observation, their own trigonometry, and of course if we modify it and take that parallax value out and make the Earth flat again, what do we get? Well, we're going to get the sun also is at 3,400 miles, which is exactly what the flat earthers have been saying all this time, right? But, you know, then all of a sudden...
I have to sort of disagree with that value because starting with Eratosthenes and including Robotham, all of this triangulation was done in complete ignorance, for lack of a better word, of the atmosphere or the atmos plane, and how that affects light waves incoming from the celestial areas. And we know pretty damn well 100% that refraction is causing not just parallax not just perspective is causing the sun and moon and stars to rise and set. And so just now, as of 2017, are people starting to model these things and take these triangulations and factor in the atmosphere, which does behave as a subjective convex lens. And at this point in the game, we just don't know what the sun and moon are. We don't know how distant they are. We can make assumptions, and we can draw assumptions based on triangulation, and that's great. You know, we've had these values since the late 1800s or the mid 1800s when parallax did them. But when, you know, they're totally failing to factor in I believe one of the biggest variables, which is that of the atmosphere,
right.
Then we're left, you know, we still have some more digging to do. I don't think we can just settle on that angular size and distance to the sun and moon.
Now, it's getting pretty ridiculous how they seem to be changing up the heliocentric model to say things like the sun might be bigger than they think now, or that the vacuum of space might not be such a vacuum anymore. Some people are saying that they're trying to even change space to being a liquid. Are they starting to change up their model to suit the research that the flat earthers are doing? Are we bringing too much truth to the ball earth lie? Things are certainly heating up. Antonio Subirats has been doing quite a few Eclipse debunking videos, but something must have happened along the way because one of them that I wrote about for the show here was taken down, and it looks like the comment section on one of his newer videos shows that he may have taken like a few of them down, I guess. But needless to say, this topic is a hot one, and plenty of people here are exhausting themselves researching it in the flat earth. Antonio's main point on a lot of his videos is how certain places are said to be able to see the eclipse, but they shouldn't actually be able to see them. Or maybe he's trying to tell us certain places should be seeing the eclipse at certain times, but it's not matching up correctly on a globe model. And you be the judge. I know that he's providing a bunch of thought-provoking stuff when it comes to these eclipses, so you may want to catch them and judge for yourself. And judging by the sound of this video, he's been going round and round with people about all this. Have a listen.
Well, England is there, and Norway's there. But this place sees the eclipse 1 minute before this place. Not 40 minutes. After 1 minute before. And look how high the sun is. Oh, the sillies. Look. Can you see how the sun is above this line? Because this line on the globe, this line carries on bending. I'm going to draw it like this was a transparent globe. Okay, watch. Tropic of Cancer goes this way, and then at this point it becomes very shallow and drops down. Okay? Can you see how the sun is above the Tropic of Cancer? It's very shallow, and then it goes like this, and then very slowly it climbs up and joins there. But really, the Earth is oriented, well, more leaning back, because the sun is really over this point, not this point. Watch where the sun is, the sillies. Look where they put it. But the big problem here for the globe is that this place sees the eclipse 1 minute before this place. This place sees the eclipse 1 minute before this place. Watch.
Now here's a different kind of flat earth news for you. What if there is something happening within the US government that is stopping NASA and other government agency whistleblowers from speaking out? What if those who have the information to speak out have been killed off one by one since as early as 1996 or before? A well-known YouTuber by the name of Captain Obvious put out a video that talks about Operation Earnest Voice and how it may be a part of NASA and the United States government to take down whistleblowers. In the following video, you need to be the judge on whether this is some form of PSYOP propaganda or if we're looking at real truthers doing real work and being murdered for it. Let me know down in the comments below or in a private email if you've done any research into these people yourself.
The simple fact is, Barry, that they didn't know where to go. The reason that they didn't know where to go was because a number of conflicting and overlapping.
I will tell you, Director Deutsch, as a former Los Angeles police narcotics detective, that the agency has dealt drugs throughout this country for a long time.
Will you please take your seats? I will come back to you as we roll back across to the center section.
And, ladies and gentlemen, last week I talked about some pretty huge kahunas, and I failed pretty hard showing them to you. Yeah. Well, this time I've got some footage, and it's absolutely epic. Original audio and everything. Check out Authentic Intent's absolutely unflappable declaration here in front of what looks like several hundred people waiting to hear an orchestra play on stage.
There's certainly no business like show business when it's put together by Irving Berlin. Thanks for coming. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Earth is flat and immovable and not a sphere like we were taught in school. Please research flat Earth. Have a nice evening. Flat Earth, man. Flat Earth. Yeah. The Earth is firm and immovable.
All right, it's a flat?
Yes.
All right, there you go.
It's not a ball like we were taught.
Crazy, right? Well, if you like what he's doing there, check out his newest video he's calling Flat Cab. He's calling Uber drivers and to get him to drive him around, and he's asking them science questions. And each question they get right, they win $1 for the tip. However, if they choose not to play, he schools them on the flat earth anyway, and he asks for a refund and a free U-turn back to where he got picked up. Swallow the red pill or waste your time with Flat Cab. Check it out.
So if the Earth is a ball like we're taught in school, we shouldn't be able to see the Sears Tower after over 52 miles away, but we can.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. So if I was to give you information about the characteristics of water again, and you just told me that it does curve, does that kind of help you understand that if the Earth is over 70% water,
in a quarter mile,
do you think that the Earth could be flat?
To turn left onto Northwest Boulevard.
Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah,
take a left up here at the light.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
You think so?
Yeah, I think so, because that's the information it's programmed in my mind.
Yeah.
Since I was little.
Okay.
Yeah. I did not know any evidence. I don't read anything. Nobody teaches me anything different. You know why?
Right. Yeah.
The first thing that it programmed is, since you know yourself that it just told you that, they'll show you the globe or the map, you accept that, they will question you to answer. They're assuming to repeat what they told you. That's our mind is programmed.
Hey, that's a good answer, man. I appreciate your honesty.
Yeah.
It is programming, and it's indoctrination.
Up next, D Marble, another popular YouTuber within the Flat Earth community, has made a video where he weighs in on the current eclipse debate. And, well, he goes over that recent video that we saw not too long ago. Remember that guy from NASA that had to come on and explain how the shadow moves across the face of the Earth because none of the other experts could really give a proper answer? Well, D Marble thinks he's manipulating the data a bit when he gave that explanation. Long story short, he's got something to say about the speed of the moon's orbit, and he may be on to something.
Now, also according to the heliocentric model, yes, it's true that the moon does orbit around the sun, somewhere around the speed of 2,288 miles per hour. But the distance of the moon, according to the heliocentric model, is said to be right around 238,000 miles away from the Earth, okay? Also, let's remember that the moon only orbits around the Earth once every 28 days. Now, let me show you again in this example demonstration. I'll show you how this works according to the heliocentric model as far as the eclipse and his explanation that he just gave in this interview. But I'll also be showing an example of how it doesn't work according to the numbers that have been given to us by the official scientific community. The way that Alex explained how the eclipse can work, yeah, that could work if we're going to manipulate the numbers as he attempted to do. You see, if the moon is this close to the Earth and rotating this way, yeah, it could work that the shadow could, in actuality, come from west to the east coast if it's rotating eastward at the same rate of speed as the Earth, almost. But that doesn't work. See, we'll show you again. All right, one more time. That's the United States, and the shadow is coming from west to east. That's the Earth spinning around the same time. But what we're also told by the scientific community is that the moon is at a much greater distance. The moon is supposed to be 238,000 miles away. And we're also told that the moon orbits around the Earth once every 28 days approximately. So it shouldn't be traveling at the same amount of speed looking parallel to the Earth, you see? That makes no sense on the heliocentric model, because that's not what we're told, right? We're told that 24 hours, the moon moves this way. 24 hours, moon's still moving. 24 hours, boom, boom. 28 days goes by, and the moon gets right back to where it is. The Earth is spun 28 times for the moon to get back to right here, is what we're told. Remember that. So when he tries to sit here and say, yep, that's why it happens, because light comes from this side to that side and it's spinning the same time. No, that's inaccurate. So let's move on.
All right, it's time for a Flat Earth facepalm. So, what's NASA up to for the eclipse? Well, this was heard by a special guest of mine that will appear on the Horry Sheet Show when the time is right. She said that scientists and students are getting together to attempt to collect what will be 10 times more samples to analyze than all previously flown stratosphere microbiology missions combined. That's right, they're sending bacteria into the skies during this eclipse to monitor how life reacts. Why? Because they think the atmosphere at the time of this eclipse will be much more like Mars's atmosphere. They said that the moon will buffer the full blast of radiation and heat from the sun, blocking certain ultraviolet rays that are less abundant in the Martian atmosphere on Mars, bringing the temperature down even more. I really feel like washing my mouth out after saying all that. This information was found straight from the Solarsystem.nasa.gov website. Go see for yourself. So, among many things still debated within the Flat Earth community, gravity still is something that not all of us can decide on. Is gravity the mass of two things attracting each other? Is it density and buoyancy? Is it a property of magnetism or electromagnetism? Or is it simply a known constant that determines things like up from down? A YouTuber that goes by the name of Arwijn gave his thoughts on gravity, and I wanted to highlight this one because he takes his time to do his research and he answered several questions in the chat too. So if you're looking for a bit more of an interactive hangout or live stream, check out Arwijn's channel. Here's a quick listen from his video titled Flat Earth Talks, Gravity Exists, Gravitational Pull Does Not.
Gravity has always been on this Earth. It has always been a constant. And besides this constant, there's no real way to measure it. It's not like a regular force like magnetics or electricity where you can measure these physical attributes, these fields or these variations in the force, which make it very tangible. Gravity is more a mysterious force that has always accompanied all of known creation. Like ever since humanity was there has been this constant direction basically called down, and objects fall down. Like this is how we look at things. We are basically mostly solid objects, people, living solid entities, and we are standing on our feet. And this is because the gravity determines that this way is down and that is up. But that's still really a personalized perspective, because what it mostly does is it determines the factors of buoyancy and density, how they actually interact with their environment.
Looking for a new Flat Earth flavored podcast? What about Pete and Peter's podcast over at Peter Peterson's YouTube channel? They sounded like a nice couple of guys just doing their thing, and it's certainly a different vibe from the rest of the podcasts that I've been doing, so I thought I'd give them a quick shout out here on the Horry Sheet Show. Here's a quick part of their podcast titled Newton's Third Law of Confusion.
Oh, how can they be a law of motion when you can have a force applied to another force, but there is no motion?
Absolutely, like if you push on a wall.
Like, for instance, well, if you have a box, you put a box on the floor, and then you get another box, and you put it on top. Now, the box on the top is going to be pushing down on the box underneath it. But the box underneath it is going to be pushing up on the box. But hey presto, there is no motion.
Yeah.
So to every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. Although it's kind of reasonable to, say that, there's no motion. So how can it be classed or used or applied under a big heading, Newton's laws of motion?
Yeah, no,
when it doesn't apply to all motion.
Well, absolutely, yeah.
Up next, this is something that I should probably cover in some more detail, but it's fine time I show you all finally what the video game industry is doing to promote this satanic Luciferian transhumanism stuff. It's making its way into countless video games, and I don't think anybody really knows. For example, the game Deus Ex Human Revolution. Take a look at this video titled Luciferian Video Game Brainwash from a YouTube channel called Truth Center. It looks like he added the yellow words at the top and bottom of the screen to make it look like an alternate translation of the narrator's voice, and it's pretty spot on. But watch this part after the rocket launch. What's with the ships in the ocean and that huge hole in the ocean?
But you can see it from here.
Alright, let's talk about the eclipse in the UK for just a minute. Do you think that we'll see a partial eclipse from the UK? Nathan Oakley highlighted something pretty interesting lately. I want you to check this out. A flat earther with the channel name The Life of Riley is issuing a challenge to a ball earther with the channel name Sly Sparkane. The challenge is to see which model is correct. Will they see an eclipse from the Holyhead in the UK? Because if the flat earth model is correct, there cannot be an eclipse shown from that spot in the UK. But if the heliocentric model is correct, they should see some sort of a partial eclipse from Holyhead. The loser of the challenge would have to delete their YouTube channel, and from the looks of it, Riley is willing to fly people to the spot there to witness the events. He's going to pay for everybody's accommodation and everything if necessary, and he's serious about some flat earth. Check out The Life of Riley's channel and this challenge video. The link will be down below.
Your own words are coming back to bite you. Cara, Sean, Sly. So your protagonist view is the reason for this video. I think it's time for a challenge. Sly, I bet you my channel, in return for your channel, that the evidence your model necessitates being there fails to materialize. I will take as many people as I can get hold of, and I will be trying to capture that round sun, not the flat tire sun. If I capture a round sun, zero eclipse, I win. However, if I capture some kind of Pac-Man sun that's consistent roughly with what your model predicts, you win. I bet you this sun fails to prove its distance from us in this experiment. Do you accept, Sly? Yes or no? Will you put your channel on the line? Because we can't both be right. There can't be a black and white. There's no grey area in this. It's black and white. You and I.
Now, a while ago, I listened to a missile commander speak on Mark Sargent's show about his time at sea while he was in the military. He talked about several anomalies when it came to traveling the seas and going from place to place. He recounted several occasions where he felt like traveling in the southern hemisphere was a bit warped. He even mentioned arriving several days early or late to certain destinations and couldn't quite figure out why that kept happening. He also mentioned how he was able to see ships from way too far with his radar. Well, here's another guy claiming to have seen a ship over 50 or 60 miles away at sea. A ship that far away should be way under the curvature of Earth. He also says he was on the first Coast Guard ship to ever circumnavigate the world. He called into Infinite Plane Society's live stream and shared this with us. Have a listen.
I did circumnavigate the world. I did circumnavigate in 2001. I was on the first Coast Guard ship to ever circumnavigate the world. And at that time, I'd seen so many things that I could not explain. And having found Flat Earth about 1.5 years ago, I started, looking back into my circumnavigation, and I was like, holy shit! I saw boats well over 40 to 60 miles away through our binoculars on the ship, the big eyes. Because we called them the big eyes, and so I would look at the big eyes. I spent many hours on lookout watch, and you can attest. Any person that's ever been in the military, and you have been in the Army, they have seen things that probably they could not explain through their binoculars or whatever apparatus they would use to look to the distance. And I can tell you this: I've seen ships well over 60 miles away. And verified, I mean verified by radar. And to me, that right there was proof enough that there is no globular existence with when I make that right there then and there analysis of what I'm seeing with my own eyes. And I never questioned it when I was 20 years old because I was doing my job. I was looking out. I was on the lookout. And now it all makes sense to me. It completely makes sense to me as to what I was seeing at the time. And so anyways, I just wanted to call in.
No, this is good. 60 miles. That's a big deal. And it was verified
15
by
miles,
the radar.
dude. I'm telling you, man, dude. We had Marfler. It was called Marfler technology. It was back in the early 2000s, and it was a night vision visual technology. And I'm sure you could probably find more on it. I haven't researched it further, but I know that at the time we were using Marfler technology to visualize things way beyond what our own eyes could see.
Next up, Joseph Green, a flat earther who has been doing his own thing, including quite a bit of live streaming, has made an interesting call to NASA to see if we can get a real video of Earth from him. And the end result is facepalm worthy at best. Long story short, NASA pointed him to an absolutely laughable video of Earth, or rather an animation composed of several pictures put together to make a video. After Joseph told him a bit about how he had a bet going on with a guy and needed to get a real video of Earth, he ends up with this by the end of the call. The clouds aren't even moving on these animations of Earth, guys. I mean, totally fake. This is where your tax money's going. Anybody who knows anything about computer graphics and video games or animations and textures can tell you this is a computer animation. Have a listen.
Images, but the website does have some videos where they essentially stitch, run the images together, so it's a movie. But this is the only one that we only have one satellite that's far enough away to actually give you a single image of the whole Earth.
So there we go. Now you've heard it for yourself. Confirmation that official NASA are unable to show you a video clip of the Earth from space. I'm Joseph Green. Peace on the plane.
Next up, the Flat Earth Podcast, a new podcast to hit iTunes and YouTube, had a school teacher on one of their podcasts. Curious J and DITRH both helped to interview him on why exactly he became a flat earther. They touched on several different flat earth proofs and poked several holes in the globe model left and right. Check out this podcast. It looks like it's going to shape up to be one of the best. Here's a quick listen from episode 3. For more information, check out the website www.flatearthpodcast.com.
I'm being honest, the first time I saw it, saw anything relating to a flat earth, I thought, are you kidding me? This is ridiculous. There are actually people who think in this day and age that the earth is flat. That's insane. Then I watched the video and I just was blown away by it because no matter how much I tried to debunk some of the things that they were saying, I couldn't. And then, of course, what happens is you look at that video, then you look at a related video, and you look at this one, you look at this one, and you just keep going on and on and on. And I've always had this expression that if something doesn't make sense, why do you believe it? And as I was looking at all this stuff about, a ball Earth, the ball Earth then suddenly didn't make sense. So why would I believe that? And the flat Earth is just so much more simpler. You know the principle of Occam's razor that the simplest explanation is usually the best. And it's just simpler. Little things like, there are literally thousands and thousands of airplanes in the air at any time, right? So how could they all be taking off and landing successfully on a spinning, orbiting ball, spinning at over 1,000 miles an hour, orbiting the sun at 66,600 miles per hour, and none of them are having any problems landing. But on a flat Earth, it makes perfect sense. Of course they can land and take off and land safely because it's flat and it's motionless. That's the key. It's motionless, not moving anywhere. So of course it has no problem. Just something simple like that.
Airplanes are one of my favorite arguments. That by itself, in my mind, easily proves the flat Earth if you really think about it. An airplane that's sitting on the runway on the equator versus one that's sitting on the runway in northern Alaska are going vastly different speeds. The one on the equator is going 1,000 miles per hour, and the one in Alaska is going maybe 400 miles per hour. As far as a point in space, zero, as a point on the Earth. So if they took off and flew to the opposite airports, how do they land? It makes absolutely no sense if you think about it.
That wraps up the Flat Earth Digest episode 10. Thanks for watching, and please remember to share this video with your favorite Facebook groups or your social media sites and your friends. Hit that subscribe button right now, and as usual, if you have something Flat Earth related to share, please get in touch with me and I'll consider sharing it on the show. Better late than never. It's time to wake people up. Who's with me?
Sit in my room and play my guitar and think about you. You are the apple of my hazel eyes. When I'm thinking of you, baby, I want you to know that I can understand and feel your pain. There you go, calling my phone tonight at 1:45, and it's alright. Baby, you know that you can call me anytime.